In this episode of Chords and Coffee, we are going to discuss the number system, quite frequently referred to as the Nashville Number System, and rightly so, because that's really where it came into prominence. Back in the 50s, you can do a quick Google search, and the whole point of the number system was you needed a way to be able to write a chord chart simply without having to indicate, especially key changes. You know, there was a time in popular music where folks liked to hear more than 4 chords. And at that time, you know, if you're in a recording session and you got a bunch of musicians playing live together, flipping through pages of a chart because, you know, you got the first key and maybe it changes key again, maybe there's a little modulation somewhere in there, you know, towards the end. You know, they wanted to simplify things. So the number system does that. So I'm going to give you kind of an intro to that if you've always thought, gosh, I'm totally confused when people are saying 1, 5, 6, 4, or, you know, whatever, right? I'm going to help you with that. The other thing I want to show you is some different ways when you're playing chords, some kind of safe ways to play that, especially in a clutch moment, because oftentimes, you know, number systems are used by a lot of music directors, whether that's, you know, on the road with the band or, you know, an MD at a church. You know, they're calling these things fast, and you don't want to have to be doing any kind of algebra in your head while you're navigating through these chord changes. You just want to be able to have a number associated with the chord. So I'll break that down for you. And the last thing I want to help you with is something I've had to learn the hard way, is that, you know, music's a language. And when you move from groups of musicians and communities of musicians, or tribes, if you will, there's going to be a dialect that is unique to that gathering of humanity. And sometimes folks will use the number system in a way that isn't the standard, but you need to be able to recognize that and adapt quickly if you want to be able to play with that group of musicians, right? So we'll talk about that too, but without further ado, so the first thing, let's just pick a key. I'm just going to pick the key of A because A, right? So in the key of A, like all keys, you've got a major scale, okay? And we'll have a little graphic here. And I know Jordan always gets nervous when I say that. He goes, here we go, all right. So A major. And so we're going to have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Those are all the notes in the key of A major. Why did I go through that? Well, because this is so important. Because these chords correspond with these notes. But not just the notes, the order of these notes, okay? So when you take a major scale and you make chords out of it, what you're going to end up doing is you can only use those notes because those are all the colors you have to paint with in the key of A. And so if you need to make a triad, which is a 3-note chord, you need a 1, a 3, and a 5. So if we're going to make 3-note chords in the key of A, this is how it shakes out. And here's what's great, is it's this way for every key, every major key, right? So A is going to be A, C sharp, and E. Okay, and that's going to be the 1 chord because that chord is first. The second chord is going to be a B minor, okay? And so that's going to be a B, a D, and an F sharp, right? Stay with me. I'm going through this because I want you to get it. The third chord is going to be, did you guess? Oh, that's right. It's a C sharp minor, okay? So you've got A, you've got B minor, you've got C sharp minor. C sharp minor is going to be C sharp, E, and G sharp, right? The next chord is going to be a D. This is the 4 chord. This is going to be D, F sharp, and A. The 5 chord is going to be E, G sharp, and B. Here comes the 6th chord, F sharp, A, C sharp. And then finally this 7th chord, it's going to be a diminished chord. Does it come up a lot? No, but it's there, and it's handy, and we need to use it. And so that's going to be a G sharp, okay, a B, and a D. So let's get into these chords. All right, so these are easy ways to play these chords, so you don't have to think about it too much. How about just a good old 1-finger A, okay? In this, I'm going to show you some bar chords too, so that those are movable. But just 1-finger A, index finger on the 2nd fret of the G, 2nd fret of the D, 2nd fret of the G, 2nd fret of the B. You don't need to play the high E, but you do need to play that open A string and not the low E. Then B minor, index finger across the 2nd fret all the way from the A to the high E. You're going to have your ring finger on the D string 4th fret, pinky on the G string 4th fret, middle finger 3rd fret of the B. And then C sharp minor, or actually just, yeah, C sharp minor is going to be up here. I keep wanting to put sevens on everything. I'll get to that in just a second. But regular old C sharp minor is going to be 4th fret, index finger on the A string all the way to the high E. Your middle finger is going to be on the 5th fret of the B. Pinky's going to be on the 6th fret of the G. Ring finger is going to be on the 6th fret of the D. And then D. Now on this one, you could use your pinky or your ring finger. I think you should use your ring finger. Just, it'll be helpful here. There'll be a little bend you got to do here in the knuckle of your ring finger, but you can do it. Trust me. Just keep at it. Index finger on the 5th fret of the A. That old ring finger is going to lay down on the D, G, and the B, and then bend up. Don't worry about getting that high E, but go ahead and lay your index finger down as a human capo across, just to be safe. Now we're going to move up to an E. That's going to be the exact same grip, just slid up. Right? That's going to be index finger on the 7th fret with the ring finger, 7th fret of the A. Ring finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the D, the G, and the B. And now this F sharp minor, index finger is going to be on the 9th fret of the A all the way across to the high E. Ring finger is going to be on the 11th fret of the D, 11th fret of the pinky on the G string here, 11th fret of G string with the pinky, and then middle finger is going to be on the 10th fret of the B. You could probably get that high E in there. So then now, on this G sharp diminished here, you know, this is, I know this is getting up there, but it's actually not too bad on this. When you get your index finger here on the 11th fret of the A, go ahead and put your middle finger on the 12th fret of the D, and then pinky on the 13th fret of the G. And then your ring finger is going to be on the B string of the 12th fret. And then there's all the chords in the key of A. Index finger on the 12th fret of the A. And then pinky laid here, or ring finger on the 14th fret of the D, the G, and the B. Those are all the chords in the key of A. Now you might go, Nate, I can't get up in there. Okay, well, let's take it back here on the E, or actually, let's do it after the D. We'll go to here. E chord. You know this from Mel Bay, page 1. And let's see, middle finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the A. Middle finger, ring finger, I got 2 middle fingers. Ring finger on the 2nd fret of the G, of the D. And then index finger on the 1st fret of the G. And then F sharp minor on the 2nd fret of the low E all the way to high E, making human capo with the index finger. And then ring finger and pinky are both going to be on the 4th fret. Ring's going to be on the 4th fret of the A. Pinky's going to be on the 4th fret of the D. Now how about, here's another diminished variation, or diminished quality. Let's do a G sharp diminished 7. Very useful chord. One of my faves. Middle finger on the 4th fret of the low E. Index finger is going to make a tiny little bar on the D, G, and the B string of the 3rd fret. And then your ring finger is going to hit that 4th fret of the G. Not playing the A, not playing the high E. And then back to good old A major. So that's all the chords in the key of A. So that if I were to call, let's say, a 1, 5, 6, 4, did a whole episode, thumbnail looks like this. Lots of different ways to play that, and that progression comes up a lot. So the 1 would be, okay, an A, and then the 5 would be, let's count up. So A, B, C sharp, D, that'd be an E. And then a 6 would be, same thing, just count up. Right? An F sharp. And then a 4, same thing, just count up. 1, 2, 3, 4, D. And so that chord progression would be. And that exact sequence is in that lesson that I just showed you a thumbnail of. So the number system gives you a quick way to make reference to those. But it also starts to open up a doorway that leads to a room that's got a bunch of questions in it. So for example, what happens if all of a sudden you have a chord that has like a slash on it and something after that, okay? And we'll get to chord qualities in a second. I want to say something about that. But these slash chords come up a lot. And this is where the number system can kind of get tricky, because the whole point of the number system is to simplify, but sometimes with the number system you have to say things like, 5/7, right? What do I mean? Well, let me show you. So this comes up a lot. So let's take this progression here. number sequence. It's actually not that bad. When you see a slash chord, so like take for example A/C sharp, right? Well, what that means is that is an A chord with a C sharp in the bass. Over time, we kind of started to refer to that as A over C sharp, which is not wrong, but sometimes, at least for me, when I was learning this stuff, I thought, well, does that mean there's like an A chord and a C sharp chord put together? Because that's a thing too, but that's not what that means. When you see a chord with a slash, a forward slash, and then a note after it, that just means the bass is specifically playing that note, and you probably should too, unless you're way up on the guitar neck and you're not in any danger of being in the frequency of low mid, let alone bass, right? So that's what that slash chord means. But when using numbers, how do you notate that? Well, let's take like this A that I played just a second ago. This is going to be index finger on the D string of the 2nd fret, G, 2nd fret, still held down by the index finger, a little tiny bar, and then a pinky is going to be on the B string and the high E of the 5th fret. 2 little bars, right? And so that A would be the 1, and then this E over G sharp. This is going to be middle finger on the 4th fret of the low E, and then let's go ahead and put our index finger on the D string of the 2nd fret, okay? And then your ring finger is going to be on the 4th fret of the G, pinky is going to be on the B string of the 5th fret. So this is E over G sharp, right? Or E with G sharp in the bass. So E is the 5th of A, G sharp is the 7th, so that would be 5 over 7, right? And then you get to this F sharp minor. I just gave you that just a second ago. That's going to be the 6th, right? And then if I did this F sharp over E, where I literally just took my index finger off, and now I'm just playing from the G, the B, and the high E down, and I got my ring and my pinky. My ring's on the 4th fret of the A, pinky's on the 4th fret of the D, and that low E's ringing open. So what would that be? F sharp over E. Well, that'd be a 6 over the 5, so 6/5, right? And then we're going to go to the 4 chord, D, you know that one. And then here's that walk down here. We have A over C sharp, which is like a 1-finger A on the D, the G, the B at the 2nd fret. And then I've got my ring finger on the 4th fret of the A string. So what is that? Well, that's going to be a 1 over the 3, right? And so then from there, we go to the 2 chord, B minor, you know that one. And then here's 2 over the 1, right? How do I do that? Well, just take your index finger off, and you can either not play the high E and just let your index finger just kind of chill for a second. It does a lot of work. Kind of come home and just sit in front of diners, drive-ins, and dives. Couldn't even say it right. Diners, drive-ins, and dives. There you go. Yeah, open A with the B minor, right? Nothing to it. Just got my index finger off, got that A open, everything else is as it normally is. And then, here's where it gets interesting. Once you break out of the standard numbers that belong to a key, now you have to start thinking about, do I call this G a flat 7, which, yes, that's exactly what you call it, right? Or do I try to attribute it to another scale? The whole point of the number system is trying to simplify things and boil it down so you can look at it really quick and know what to do, right? So in this case, G natural doesn't belong to the key of A. And so when I see this flat 7, I know that, oh, that's the 7th in the key of A, which is normally a G sharp, which is down a half step. That's all. So when I see flat, I just think, oh, move down a half step. The same way, by the way, if you see a sharp 5, just think move up a half step from where it normally belongs. That's all. And so this G major 7, which I'm making with my middle finger on the 3rd fret of the low E, my ring finger's on the 3rd fret of the B, my index finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the high E. I'm skipping the A, everything else is open. And then here's this D over F sharp. And so what would that be? Well, D is 4, F sharp is 6, so that'd be 4 over 6. That's going to be index finger on the 2nd fret of the low E, middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G, ring finger on the 3rd fret of the B. And then to this just E, good old E like we did a second ago. And then you've seen these chords before, but I went 1, 2, 3, 4. And so that'd be 1, 2, 6, then 5 over 7, and then 1. So here's what's interesting about that, and the reason I say that is that, you know, I told you at the beginning of the episode, sometimes you move from musical community to musical community, or you just start playing with some folks for the first time, and maybe you watch this lesson, and somebody says, hey, we're going to play the 3 right here. And you're thinking, oh, okay, so I'm in the key of A, I'm going to play the C sharp minor. Well, you might ask, because sometimes, and this has just been my experience, sometimes people, in the name of being expeditious with calling chords, especially like in a spontaneous kind of environment where we're kind of jamming on things and or we're just sort of flowing and we need to be able to call things quickly. Sometimes a 3 might actually mean 1 over 3. How would I know? The only way you could know is to ask. And there's a way to ask that without being presumptuous or sort of posturing. You can just be like, hey, when we get to that 3, do you want like the -3 or do you want the 1 over 3? That kind of thing, right? And what you'll find with this whole number system dialect, and what I want to encourage you with is even things like if we're in the key of A and all of a sudden we go to a B major or B dominant 7 chord, right? You could think of that as a dominant 7-2, or you could think of that as the 5 of the 5, because the 5 in A is E, and what's E's 5? It's B7, right? These are questions to ask, right? I say all that to say this, is it's a great system. Is it perfect? Well, no, because it's a human thing, and there isn't anything that humans do that ever ends up being perfect, right? But it is a great way to communicate, and it's a great way to come together and play music really quickly, and also it's a great way to simplify a chord chart. So I hope this helps you. Hey, what questions do you have? I know you're just sitting there right now going, well, wait a minute, I got all kinds of questions. Put them in the comments. Believe it or not, there's somebody out there that wants to ask the question that you can articulate well. So put that in the comments and hit the subscribe video. I haven't even drank my coffee yet. I'm going to do that now. Hit the subscribe on the video, follow the videos, do all the internet things that people say to do. But most of all, even more important than any of that, I just want you to live life the best you can with guitar in your hand. Thank you for the privilege of your time. See you next week for another Chords and Coffee.